Split the vote.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Split the Vote, the ultimate Supervan podcast made by fans, for fans, and all of those who love Survivor, and a Purple Pants podcast powered production. Try saying that 5 times fast. I am the Man in Black, otherwise known as Wesley from The Princess Bride, sometimes known as Rob, and normally I might, in this situation, introduce my co-host, but I think let's hear from you. Let's get an introduction from you.
Yeah, I am sometimes known as Tim, but in this instance, on this very special Halloween episode, if you're watching this in the future, you see us in costumes. I'm just an elf, I'm Tim to me, with the accent mark at the end. So yeah, but I'm excited to talk about all things Survivor here, Rob. I think we had a really great episode too. Like another episode that is just moving us forward into the game. And I think it's good. I think it's gonna be great talking about it.
Definitely, yeah. So let's just hop into it then, right? So initially, right at the beginning of the episode, we already know we're headed into a tribe swap, but Jeff announces that there's another tribe swap, second one this season. So if I'm a player in this at this point of the game right now, I'm looking around the beach and there are 12 people heading into the challenge, not even knowing that there is going to be a tribe swap. But what we've seen as a pattern from the last few episodes was that they're headed either into like the Mergatory or in some different kind of twist. What did you think about Survivor's decision to do another tribal council, or not a tribal council, another tribe swap?
Yeah, I really didn't expect it. I thought that, beforehand or before last episode or before we got a preview of the swap that is going to be coming, I thought we were just going to go one more round with this format, with this group of people, and see how it changes, how it shakes up. I kind of would have liked it maybe a little more to see those dynamics play out if those groups were to have stuck with how they were divided initially. But to go into another swap and be 3 tribes of 4 is nowhere to hide. It's just you. So yeah, your game is literally in your hands at that point, and it's just you and 3 other people. That's it. So I found myself excited to see what'll happen. And I thought to myself, with the way that these tribes are divided, somebody's in danger. And I think that somebody, which we saw, was Shannon.
Yeah, honestly, last episode when we were talking about these tribe divisions, I think we kind of clocked it exactly how we felt that each person was going to feel in the situations. But truly, I love Survivor's decision to, if I react with my eyebrows, it literally moves my eyes away from the match. Like, it is actually bothering me right now. Anyway, I really did like Survivor's decision to incorporate the 3 tribe swap, because I think normally at this stage in the game and they go into a Mergatory, there's so many people on the same beach, it's easy to hide. And like you hit on, there is nowhere to hide with 4 people heading into a tribal council. Any little behavior like twitch that you do, it's going to be noticed by everyone on the beach. And I think even if all 3 tribes don't end up going to tribal council, those relationships, the intensity of the game that's going on each beach, it's huge, right? And I think it could be leading to impactful moments, because just imagine yourself on one beach with just 3 people for 48 hours, 36 hours. I don't know how long they were on that tribe for, but those are real connections that can grow from those moments. And it actually could be way more impactful heading into a merge, rather than there just being like superficial conversations where everyone's just all like, oh, la, 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 heading into a merge. You know what I'm saying, though? Like,
Yeah.
such a better decision by Survivor.
Yeah, and it's like we saw those exact type of bonds and connections being made across these smaller tribes. Like, for example, MC over on the new Yellow tribe found herself in this spot where she's like, I know that everybody knows that Rizzo has this advantage, So I'm gonna tell him, even though he probably knows, but I'm gonna use this information to get buddy buddy with him. And that's just like one of those examples of, because it's so small and because you may not have all of your allies with you on this one beach in this one spot, you have to make those connections, have those strategic conversations, and not just, so, Sophie B, what does the B stand for in Sophie B? Like, you don't have to do the little for the moment conversation. So I was excited about seeing the connections that were being formed there.
All right, so you bring up the newest Hina tribe. So let's dive into their dynamics, right? So you mentioned MC has this valuable information that she knows where Rizzo's idol is because Sage divulged all of that information from the old new Hina tribe. All right. I guess that's how we would define that tribe.
Yeah.
What did you think of MC using that information to her advantage and telling Rizzo rather than just keeping it to herself and like, hey, maybe if we go to a tribal council, then I could maybe use this information? Like, what did you think about that motive to try and make a connection with Rizzo, being like, hey, this is what I know. Let's try and work together.
Yeah, I think it was smart. I think it was really smart for MC to do. I think, again, with her seeing all of her old tribe mates go home back to back, and she's the only one on this tribe from her OG tribe, you have to try to form those connections, try to form those bonds. And her going up to Rizzo and telling him this information, again, I thought was smart. I thought it was the best thing for her to do. Again, if I'm in her shoes and I'm seeing the patterns that are happening, I'm going to try my best to break that curse, to literally, even though I'm dressed as a magical character, actually break that survivor curse of Hina going home. And again, I think MC did the best thing that she could do, which was go talk to him one-on-one and have that personal bond and connection.
I think it's like easy for people to assume, well, why would you divulge that information so early on in this newly swapped tribe when there's no need to, right? You're not going to tribe council. You just won a reward challenge. There's no need to just spill all this information and knowledge that you know, but you hit on it, right? That all of the Hina original members, they're going, and MC, whether it's now or later into the game, is going to need to make relationships with the original Uli tribe members. And it's so critical that this is a way of just extending an olive branch, being like, hey, people are talking about you behind your back, and I want you to know that. So when there is a situation, maybe in the future, when I don't know, Rizzo's just relying on MC or just some information, like maybe that can be a connection that just works to MC's benefit, maybe Rizzo's benefit too. And you know what? Like, the path that MC is probably looking at with this tribe is Rizzo and Savannah have been on the tribe the whole game with each other. They're locked in, they're working with each other. So maybe the plan is to be like, just try to get Sophie kind of like out of the numbers, right? So MC's working the right people in this moment to the best of her capability, while knowing that she has the potential of getting that idol from her Beware advantage that she found from the last beach that she was on, or the first beach that she was on. First beach, last beach,
Yeah,
first beach.
first beach, yeah.
Yeah.
From the first beach that she was on, because she's, again, yet to go to tribal council, which I think is, again, a tribute to her challenge performance and the challenge performance of the tribe that she's found herself on. But she, again, played a huge role in not going to tribal council. But I want to add on to that and say I thought it was also smart to acknowledge the fact that although Sophie B isn't a part of original Uli, y'all have all been on a tribe together these past 2 rounds and voted out my old tribe mates. So I am the odd duck here on this beach. Like, I am the odd person out. So I'm gonna, again, do everything I can to make sure I have at least some kind of leverage if we do go to tribal council beyond just having her idol an advantage. And we even see them go and try to find something without her, which I'm sure we'll get into what was actually found and by who. But on the topic of MC, I just think it's going to benefit her moving forward, especially as the merge is coming up. And with the war against Hina not necessarily continuing in this moment, red blood has been spilled. Somebody on Uli has gone home. So if there's going to be a civil war, MC is going to be a number for you on your side.
No, 100%. I mean, any Hina like connection that an Uli person has, they're probably going to use that benefit, right? So Rizzo, Savannah, they might be relying on MC. You might have people like Sage and Jawan that might need to rely on Steven going into the next vote. So we could get into a lot of that later, right? For our predictions and stuff like that. But yeah, okay, let's stay with the Hina tribe, right? As you just kind of mentioned, where we see Rizzo, Savannah, and Sophie, that threesome in this tribe, head off into the woods because they get the idea of, well, hey, like, what if there is the advantage still? Like, we found it before. We know what we're looking for in what kind of spot. Let's go hunting, try to maybe take some power away from MC or just add to their toolkit, right?
Yeah, and you know what, Rob? My favorite advantage is back in the game. I always love knowledge is power. And I think knowledge is power is just so amazing of an advantage, so underrated of an advantage. And of course, one of our favorite players this season found it. Well, probably your more favorite player than mine, just because you've, given out your torture award to her more than me. But I still love Sophie B also. But Sophie B finds the knowledge is power. And Rob, I'm sitting on my couch behind me watching the episode, and I'm like, yes, like I love this for her. I'm excited. And I think she can break the knowledge is power curse. And she could be the first player to use it correctly. And I think she will be.
She definitely can be. I mean, she has so much information. She knows where the idol is. The first day that she was on the beach with Rizzo told her that she had the idol, or that he had the idol to her. So that's just one person that she knows that has an advantage. And maybe that's not the person you necessarily want to take an idol from. It depends at what stage in the game and what connections kind of like are apparent in the moment. But yeah, we know Sophie be a player for real. So she's going to have knowledge. She's going to have the information to be able to use this advantage successfully. And I know the knowledge is power advantage is such a controversial advantage in the game, but I think it highlights such an important aspect of Survivor where we know how valuable and important information is in this game. And that's what this advantage is meant to target. Who knows where advantages lie? Who knows where the power is? And who knows how to use it to their best advantage to extrapolate it from another person and then implement it into their own game. And I'm so happy that it's back in Survivor and that Sophie B has the advantage. Like, it can't get any better than that.
And what made it even better to me, Sophie B secretive. She did not tell nobody about this. And I think that was the smartest thing to do. If I'm in her shoes, I'm thinking the whole power of this advantage comes in the fact of information, as you said. And because everybody always like to chatter, we all know where idols are. We all know who has what at this point, or somebody at least knows something from someone. And so not only am I one of only two people left in the game and I have this advantage, but I'm going to use it for me because, again, it's still me trying to be the sole survivor, not the new member of Uli tribe survivor. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. Sure, if they would have lost, who knows? It could have been used against MC. But I'm excited to see Sophie B use this for herself. What I want to happen, Rob, in a dream world, right? In my fantasy, my survivor fantasy world, I love to see Sophie B take the idol from Rizzo, actually, to save herself later in the game if push comes to shove. Because that's an idol that she knows 1,000% where it is. who has it and she can use it for herself. So I'm excited to see that happen.
Oh man, I mean, anything can happen, right? So I just can't wait till we get to the moments when we see that this advantage is going to be in use, right? Is there another tribe that you want to head on right now? Maybe heading to maybe like the newest Uli tribe, right? With
Yeah,
Alex, Christina, Nate, and Sophie S.
yeah, let's go. So Rob, like I'm dressed up as an elf in this like little fantasy character. And sometimes I play Dungeons and Dragons. Last Friday, actually, I hosted Dungeons and Dragons at my apartment. And in doing that, I'm a DM. So I'm a dungeon master. I'm the person who's doing all the narrating, walking everybody through what's happening. So when I see this tribe pop up in this combination, I'm like, this is just a hodgepodge of characters from completely different places on completely different journeys to find whatever ultimate goal that they're looking after, right? You got Alex, who's literally a lone wolf warrior, been fighting day in, day out to survive in the game. You got Christina, who's like a fairy, who's super lovable, super social, has had all of these emotional moments that we've been seeing. You got somebody who's a little more outwardly forward with what he wants to happen in the game. So he has a way with words, as you could say or imagine, right? So I'm gonna put Nate as like the wizard of the group, right? And then you got Sophie S, who we haven't heard much from, but from what we are hearing, is about the game and is maybe silent to us, but still wanting to be deadly. So that's a rogue to me. So again, I'm seeing this group and I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to work out, but at least I know they're all on the same journey, the same campaign together to win immunity and not have to go to tribal council.
100%. But yeah, I think you touched on it too, where a lot of these players on the beach, they haven't been like the main narrators of the season so far. They're not the person spearheading their old tribes. They're not the person on the bottom necessarily, too. They've been very comfortable. Maybe not comfortable for Alex, right? But but they've been managing the game and they haven't needed to do too much to put themselves in a vulnerable position. So I feel like this is the first time for all four of these players that they, aside from Alex, where they really need to divulge into those relationships and really find a true solid place. I know Sophie talked about it during the episode too, where she felt like she had been on the bottom of every single alliance to date. And then you also look at Nate in the situation where he is the only original Uli tribe member on this beach, and Alex had been on the beach with Christina and Sophie S prior to this tribe swap. So I it's a lot of low-key moving pieces and a
Mhm.
lot of people who haven't really made their stamp yet in the game. Because even though Alex has gone to tribal council, it was all before he arrived on this new beach with Christina and Sophia. So all four of these players have yet to vote with each other or against with each other in any kind of capacity.
Yeah, and because of that, I think it's so confusing to think about and to see play out because Nate seeing the numbers, he's just looking at it from the standpoint of I'm the only Uli member and we've been dominating. Let me make myself seem like I'm not a threat at all, right? Let me come off as the character who's just a part of the group and who's just like here and wants to do stuff, but it didn't work out. Let me join your party. Let me be a part of your group. Take me on your adventure further into this game we call Survivor. But it doesn't work out because everybody else, in the game of Dungeons and Dragons, if something isn't right and you think it's not right, you can be like, let me investigate that. And you roll a number, right? And if it hits that number or above, you get to know the truth. In this instance, the number they got to roll is a 1 out of 20. So it's like they rolled a 20 and they're like, Nate, I see right through what you're trying to do and I don't like it. And I think you're actually one of the people who's in power. So not only did you lie to me, but you're also in a great spot. So that's more the reason to get you out if we lose this immunity challenge, which they didn't.
I think it's really interesting to compare Jason and Nate's strategies of how they've kind of went about being that person without any numbers or connections heading into a new tribe, right? And Jason was someone that was on his tribe, right? That he like Jason's pitch to Nate and everyone else on their beach was that, hey, I was kind of close to these people, but I'm not well, Jason's pitch was, I am really close with the old Hina tribe members, but I'd like to make a relationship. And Nate kind of implements that a little bit into his pitch as to why he could maybe work with Sophie S and Christina and them in that kind of capacity. But I don't know. Did Nate's decision to really be like, I was like kind of like torn at the last tribal council because I was thinking I was gonna vote with Jason. Like, did you think that really was believable? Because I'll ask you that. What do you think?
Hmm. The believability of it, I can't really super specifically comment on, but I think I could try to comment on the why. Okay, why would Nate try to come up with a lie? It doesn't make sense for Nate to tell the truth or be super brutally honest like Jason was. We saw how that worked out for Jason when he says, hey, well, I'm just Hina Strong. Essentially, these are my people. I'm going to stick with them. If I survive, I just survive. If y'all want to vote with me, you could join the group of people that already have a relationship with. So if I'm Nate, I saw how that worked out for him when he was the odd person out. Now that I'm the odd person out, I don't want to repeat that. I don't want to tell them, hey, I already have my group of other people who I actually want to continue this journey, this adventure with, and you're not a part of that. The party is maxed out at 5 people. I don't want you to know that the party's already full. I want you to think that it might be a spot or two for you to come join. And if I'm Nate, again, I'm gonna lie, make it seem like I was conflicted, make it seem like I want to actually explore other places. I want to make you think that I'm gonna leave my party and come join yours. So it makes complete sense, his approach to wanting to do that, but it just seemed like for them the believability of it just wasn't it.
Yeah, I think Nate was kind of put in a tough position where either anything he doesn't like it, he has to say that he is Uli strong for anyone to believe him in this situation, right?
Mhm.
And that's tough when you don't necessarily want to put yourself in a hole this early into a tribe where you don't necessarily know like if there are any cracks. And we did see one crack kind of start to unravel a little bit when Sophie S is confiding in her confessional and then telling Alex where it's like, hey, like, let me be the new Sophie, right? To Alex, right? Where she just has these maybe not animosities towards Christina, but when Christina kind of pitches it where it's like, hey, yeah, like we'll throw out Sophie S to Nate as kind of like the decoy vote. Like, you know,
Mhm.
if I'm Sophie, I would actually get so frustrated by Christina doing that, who I've been on the same beach with in the same tribe this entire game. Why would it make more sense for Nate to believe that there is a yellow person that's on the outs and not just the single one person from the old Kele tribe? Like that
And that's
actually
what I
makes
thought too. Like that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, to me, it makes more sense to throw out Alex's name because again, as you mentioned, Alex is only two OG blue, and if we're looking at it on a line tribe by tribe basis, that's the obvious person whose name we should be throwing out. But yeah, if I'm Sophie, I would be annoyed too because it's like, really me? But as you were talking about Sophie wanting to join Alex and saying, "Hey, I'm like, welcome to Survivor 49. Drop the B at the S to Sophie. You have a new ally," is what I was reading from the situation. And again, it made complete sense for her to approach it like this. But for her to be the decoy vote, if I'm Nate, I'm also like, okay, so you lying to me, I'm lying to you. I guess we both just liars now because it's like, and because of that, I don't think nothing major is gonna come from this group in terms of like alliances moving forward. I don't think they would necessarily be targeting each other directly come emerge. I don't see this group using the time that they had on this tribe together forward in the game. Beyond maybe Alex and Sophie S. Alex having more of an opportunity to work with her, but I don't see other connections across this group moving forward into the game.
Yeah, I
Do you?
kinda see them as sheep that are gonna go back to their original herds in a way with, like, those connections that they really made on the beaches prior to this new tribe.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, as soon as this journey ends, not the survivor journeys that take them on a boat, but as soon as this little journey ends, we're all just going to go back to our own stories, our own different chapters, different places in this fantasy world. And I agree. I think they are going to exactly do that. And I bet money. I bet that's going to happen. But something else that we did bet was going to happen happened when we had the immunity challenge and we saw the blue tribe composed of Jawan, Steven, Shannon, and Sage lose and have to vote somebody out. Ultimately, that person was Shannon.
Yeah, when I was looking at the 3 tribes, I think this is the tribe that I really wanted to lose the immunity challenge because there had been brewing beef between Sage and Shannon just over the last few episodes, and that's the survivor drama that I feel like we've kind of had a lack of, maybe definitely this season, maybe in like the new era for the most part, just because the game has turned to such a strategic viewpoint. But you're finally getting a player that like has like maybe not, I don't want to say Sage has hatred towards Shannon, but there is that amount of like disgust that kind of just kept accumulating over each episode. Like when Shannon was like blowing her kisses over to Sage, and then Sage's eyes just like turn to like the disgust. Like those are the kind of interactions that we need more of on Survivor, right? Like
Yeah.
because they all
Wow.
like yeah, no.
What's that over there? You want to take a look. Like that's what Shannon was doing. Like, as soon
Exactly.
as she looked away, it was like the disgusting face. I thought that was hilarious. I also thought like, oh, not Shannon, sorry, Sage was doing, but I also was like, Sage, what happens if you get caught? Like, that's just awkward, but it just showed how genuine she was with it and how for me it was a hilarious funny moment. It really shows she was fed the freak up with
Mhm.
all of Shannon's shenanigans. Yeah.
That was good. How did we not uncover that before? That was perfect. I do think that Jawan was a very pivotal player within this tribe specifically, because on the surface for him, his knowledge of how the relationships were back at the original Uli tribe was, hey, like everyone's solid. Like the players of like Rizzo and Savannah, they all like Shannon. There was no reason to necessarily get rid of Sage now in this kind of situation. And he had been a part of the tribes where they were just voting out old Hina members. So it makes sense for Jawan in this moment to be like, to stand his ground and be like, no, guys, like the 3 of us, we got to work together, put our differences aside, and vote
Mhm.
out Steven. And I thought it was really interesting how he was able to be flexible and knowledgeable and really be present in that moment with Sage when Sage is telling him, like, hey, Shannon's coming for you. And to believe someone in that moment when you're under the assumption that all 3 people should be working with each other and you have felt those good relationships, like takes a lot for Jawan to be mindful and understanding in that moment and then be actionable about it after the fact.
I'm a little confused though, Rob, because I previously thought so deeply to myself that Jawan knows he's at the bottom. Jawan knows he can't keep working with his original tribe forever, right? But from this episode, I'm kind of getting something different where he is wanting to try to stay with the numbers of his original tribe. He is wanting to just get out Steven to not upset everybody else. But I'm like, Jawan, you got to play the game for yourself. And in his mind, he 1,000% is right, because for him, you might be asking, or I might be wondering, why would Juwan just want to stick with them? Of course, we're seeing that they don't really care about Juwan or would quickly get him out, but he doesn't know this at this point. And so, because of that, I'm like, oh, Juwan actually thinks he's in solid with his original tribe. And because of that, he's throwing out Steven's name. But then I'm conflicted because I thought he knew he was at the bottom, and that's how he formed his relationship with Sage. So maybe if I'm Juwan, I'm thinking about it like, okay, the blue tribe, they don't have the numbers. The yellow tribe, they just lost 2 people. So maybe my best bet at this point, not because I just want to and they're my besties, to work with my original tribe, but because they're just the people that make up the majority of players left in the game. And if I piss off the majority of players left in the game, I'm going home. But on the flip side, though, Rob, as a viewer, without my critical thinking hat on, I'm like, it feels like Juwan is playing rock, paper, scissors, but he can see the player he's competing against throwing paper every time, but he still throws rock. And it's like, okay, Juwan, we can't throw rock this time. We know they're gonna do paper. I need you to use scissors. I need you to cut up in the game. I need you to cut up these, alliances and original Uli tribe. Ultimately, he did do that, and I thought that was great. But man, at first it felt like he was not gonna do that, and I was scared.
Yeah, I do think he's coming from a place though where he was just at tribal council, whereas the other 3 were not, and he had to really
Ooh.
test and show the relationships with Savannah and Rizzo, being like, I'm locked in with you guys, and he is totally going against himself by then going after Shannon and voting her out of the game. And I think that's where a lot of pause kind of comes from for him in that moment, where he just assumes that Sage and Shannon are gonna want to work together with him, because that's what happened in his last tribe, right? So but at least you see him like connect with Steven, and like they have those little bro moments, and that like as like the nerds and everything like that, right? So like that he was doing his due diligence of trying to create those relationships, and he's just like, man, like I guess I probably have to vet out Steven. But at the first opportunity of him getting just like a little bit of information, being like, it doesn't have to be like that, he's like, awesome, I'm good, let's go for Shannon in this moment, right?
Mm-hmm. And it worked out even better because Shannon threw his name out, which I was like, Juwan, huh? Like, how did we get here? How did Juwan's name come up as the person to vote out in this moment? But again, he didn't have the context that Sage and Shannon didn't like each other until he got to the beach and until they started talking a little bit more. So it makes total sense. And to see the nerds bond, I thought was great too. I feel like Juwan gives me, he plays like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure he's played once before, if not continuously to this day. But I will say, in voting out Shannon, we're continuing to get this storyline that Savannah is gonna hate Juwan even more. Because, okay, you use my bag, your skills on your resume. Shout out to Survivor News and the Purple Pants podcast. Your skills are using my items, and you just gained a new skill in your job on Survivor of also voting out people I want to work with. And if I'm Savannah, also betraying the original trust that we just established at this past tribal council. So moving forward, I think that is going to be a problem, and we might see that storyline being continued.
Definitely. I think those same emotions can't also be attached onto Sage as well, because that was a person who they didn't necessarily have in their majority alliance back at the original Uli Beach. So there could be a situation where Steven really has maybe gotten some numbers just from this one vote from this one tribe, where Jawan and Sage might end up having to work with the old Hina members, right? And that might just be their way of collecting new resources after some of them were disposed in Matt and Jason, right? So we know that the battle's coming, especially with a looming merge that's happening next episode. So yeah, it really might be a Savannah versus Jawan or kind of situation where if they want to push that narrative and try to get that person out, but there's also going to be 11 different agendas now at the next speech. And just one, like, do you let one little feud kind of take over your entire game for the moment? I think it's more difficult to say yes to that, but you don't know how vengeful some people are here on Survivor, Tim.
That is true. That is true. We kind of saw the lengths people would go to get somebody out that they also just find annoying in general, which again brings me to talking about Sage and Steven as well. I thought this was another great episode for Sage. I think, again, she got out somebody she wanted to get out, but her name didn't come up at all. And from what we've seen, I'm like, wow. Just literally wow. Not sure how that happened, but that's great for her. Like, she had conversations with the right people. She played into the areas she needed to play into. Like, she is vomiting for fake with Shannon, but then she's playing into it by holding her hand or by being all cuddly with her. I don't know about you, Rob, but I always say one of my love languages is physical touch. And if I'm annoyed or if I'm irritated, I'm like, don't touch me. So for Sage to be able to, put that aside and just like hug her when she really doesn't want to, and just play this game, play this, we're besties, we're locked in for life, we're soul sisters, we're spiritual siblings, for whatever would work for Shannon. I thought again was great. And her pulling in Jawan and telling Jawan that Shannon said his name was also something that really worked out in her favor.
Yeah, I think across the board this season, Sage has done such a great job with timing, right? Being able to make timely relationships with people in her tribe and then dispelling information when she needs to ensure that people see her vision, see the game that's unfolding behind those scenes that they're not necessarily able to view, right? And I think it's been maybe did I doubt Sage earlier on in this game? Like, yes and no, just because of the whole odd duck aspect, right? Where you kind of see her in the beginning of the game being like a shell of herself, where I think I've really admired the way that Sage has now started playing the game, as opposed to earlier in the game where she wasn't necessarily able to play the game in how she probably wanted to. Like, you kind of see her being the odd duck, right? And being a shell of herself. And now she's able to, with just probably being like around everyone for enough time, being able to have the relationships and the knowledge to then just play the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. And moving forward, I'm hoping that that same side of Sage that we've been shown these past two episodes, we're continuing to be shown, especially again as we're heading into this 11 agenda moment, these 11 different people with their own goals, their own dream to get further in the game. And I hope Sage is one of those people that goes really far. And Steven, I'm really impressed with Steven's ability to blend himself with the people on this beach socially. I knew, of course, his name came up, but it came up from Jawan, who even himself didn't want to vote out Steven because he and Steven bonded and connected that much. And because it's only a tribe before, when you're put in pairs of two, conversations are going to happen. And I think both just naturally with who they both are, with being more nerdy people, they connected. But then also, I think it just is a tribute to the social games at play. And I think it's also a tribute to Steven's social game as well, to sort of connect with Jawan and get on his good side to really dive into the nerdiness if that's going to be something that is going to get him further in the game. I don't think it was, fake or inauthentic, but it's like, let me lean into this authenticity and really connect to get further in the game.
Yeah, I don't want to call Steven the easy vote of this tribe. I think a more fitting description could be like the given name that has to be thrown out because of the whole tribe divisions that's been apparent up until this point. But you, aside from it being like, do we have another alternative other than Steven? Otherwise, Steven's going home. Like, that's kind of the situation that I think the other three tribe members are kind of at in this moment, right? And other than that little question that doesn't really last too long on this speech, like, Steven's name never comes up. Everyone views Steven as someone that they can work with. And I think that truly is a testament to his social game. The fact that he was able to build those relationships with Shannon back on the newer Hina tribe and with Sage as well, when the three of them were on the same tribe together. And in this moment, this very critical moment where the one person he doesn't have the relationship with is Jawan, and they're able to bro out. So I think it truly is a testament to his social game.
I agree. I agree. And speaking of social games, I want to get into Shannon. Earlier, I did say, okay, I was confused. Why did Shannon throw out Jawan's name? But now that I think about it more, if I'm Shannon and I'm in her shoes, I'm seeing we're down by a lot of numbers. A lot of people have been voted out. Merge has to be around the corner, right? And I feel super close with Sage. Even though I just threw out Sage's name, if it was me or her, I was going to make sure it was her and not me. But now that we're together, we could have this connection. We can have this bond. She can be a number for me. We've always been on the same beach, so it must be destined that we be allies. So boom, that's one number, one super close ally I have moving forward into a merge. And now Steven. Steven, I've been on the tribe with, I've been on the same beach with in the first swap. And although I was out of the numbers, I worked my butt off to play socially and to make these connections. And just because we're on this beach and our original colors were red, why would I vote out somebody that I want to work with when the merge is coming right around the corner? Why would I get rid of an ally when this is the time where I'm going to need all the allies I could get moving forward in the game? And then there's Jawan. We already didn't like Jawan on our original tribe, or I wouldn't say that we didn't like him. He was at the bottom socially on our original tribe. If I'm Shannon, I'm looking at the situation, right? So I'm thinking, okay, well, Jawan must be expendable, or Jawan can be expendable. I can vote out Jawan, and the people on our original tribe won't really be upset. Maybe we could even come up with a lie and say Steven played an idol, or Steven had some kind of advantage. Or maybe I'm just honest and say, we just got rid of Jawan because it was Jawan. No shade to Jawan, but if I'm Shannon, this is what I might be thinking. And it makes a lot of sense. But where it fails is that because the numbers are so small and because everybody will talk to everybody on a tribe before, it just came back to bite her. And it was the second Shannon Renthian's verse 18 of her social game, thy shall not play too hard, and thy played a little too hard. And Shannon got voted out. But who knows? Yeah. Maybe in 3 more votes, Shannon will come back and be a finalist.
What?
Maybe Shannon. She'll rise again. Yeah.
How?
But yeah.
I don't know. I hope they're not bringing back the Edge of Extinction or anything like that. Man, I don't really know if I want that twist. So don't play with me with that kind of way, Tim. But anyway, yeah, no, I think the vote for Shannon makes a lot of sense, right? She has her perceived relationship with Sage. She has her inroads with Steven and the rest of all the old Hina members. And Jawan was a name that she knew was at the bottom, like you said. That Savannah had been shit talking the entire time, and that probably her, Rizzo, Nate, all of those people back on their original tribe, they're fine with Jawan going home. So if Shannon's with probably any other original Uli member in that moment, Jawan might really be the person that goes home. But because it's Shannon and Sage on the same beach at the exact same time, Sage has a bigger piece of the pie within a 4-person tribe, right? Like you're not looking at like 1/12 of the pie. Like you have a quarter piece. That's a big piece. So now Sage, who tends to hide, put themselves down in this game, is able to really take control and take the reins. And that's where these, like, I don't want to call her a lower tier player, but one who doesn't like put themselves out there as like the narrator and like the leader and like we got to do it my way or the highway, right? That's where a player like Sage can really take control in this game.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe we will see that moving forward. Maybe it'll be the Book of Sage. Chapter 11 is 11 players left. And maybe it's time for Sage to take over the merge. I guess we'll find out and see. But Rob, I think it's time to get to who has our Torture Awards this episode. What are the Torture Awards? You might be wondering. Well, the Torture Awards are an award ceremony put on every episode by Rob and I, where we give any player individually of our choice our Torture Award. It could be because they were great, we loved them. Maybe they were the best confessional giver of that episode. They could be the best strategist of that episode, but for whatever reason, they're gonna get a Torture Award. Rob, I want to ask, who are your nominees for this episode for your Torture Award?
All right. Well, I still smell that burning sense right now, right? So I think Sage is in the air. So Sage has to be one of my nominees. And the other person I'm looking at is Steven too. I think he played a very flawless social game this time around. And for my Torture Award this week, I'm going with Steven. I really admired the way that he was able to integrate himself with all of these players on their tribe and combating that trend of old Hina members going home. He's able to plant his flag in the sand and stay another week. And I think he's got a pretty decent outlook going forward.
Yeah, that is a great pick, and that's a great choice for a winner. Steven definitely held his own socially and made his own inroads into surviving the tribal council. For me, Rob, it's two people who I'm thinking of. One, of course, is Sage. This was, again, another great episode for Sage, and I thought she killed it. And she's a very great and deserving nominee. The other person, because they got my favorite advantage ever in Survivor, the knowledge is power, I have to also consider Sophie B, because that is a powerful advantage to have, and to also keep it a secret is something that's going to be dangerous, and something that I thought was strategically a great moment for her this episode. I will have to go with Sage, though. I think Sage not only survived Tribal Council, did not have her name come up as an option, and she got to really deepen the connections that she made on this beach that are going to be helpful for her moving forward. I could see Sage and Jawan being a deadly duo moving forward with Steven in their back pocket, or that move itself is going to help them not be the immediate target by the original Hina. So I think because of all of those things in combination, Sage gets my Torture Award this episode.
Yeah, definitely. I love Sage. She's awesome.
Yeah. Whoa, Rob, anything else from this episode we might have missed or you want to touch on?
Think we kind of covered it all. Not a lot of talk and chatter about the immunity challenges and the reward challenges, but those grilled cheese sandwiches look gas, and I think I'd be starving for one of them on the island.
I think MC said on Twitter the grilled cheeses were actually trash, but she did love the fact that they had bread. But listen, food is food. I'm excited to talk about next episode. It's gonna be a big one, of course. It's gonna be the merge. So I'm excited to hear more about that. And then also, I watched a little brief interview where Jeff mentioned that he's gonna tell, spoiler alert potentially, he's gonna tell the players, the 11 players, that you're playing Survivor 49, but there's room on Survivor 50. And because of that, they're going to get playing and they're going to go even harder than they already are. So I'm excited to see what fire is not ignited because it already was lit, but what fire just blazes and booms because of this information. So I'm excited to see Act 2 of Survivor 49. And you can catch us recap it, you know what I'm saying, right here on the Purple Pants podcast with Split the Vote. We'll see y'all next time. It's been Tim.
It's been Rob.
It's been Split the Vote. Peace. If I can find my mouse.